This film might have had one of the creepiest things I've seen all year in a movie, and it will haunt my nightmares for probably the rest of the year, unless I see something creepier. I mean, Saw was pretty scary, but this was creepy. So today we are talking about Alien Romulus. This is my full review, so fair warning, there are spoilers ahead. We're going to be getting into all of it, but before we do, a brief little synopsis on what the heck this movie is about. So this is a new Alien film. It does exist in the Alien franchise, but it kind of takes place more in the past, so it's not trying to continue on from where we've been or anything like that. It's actually a story that's told in between, I think it's Alien 1 and Aliens? Yeah, I believe it is between Alien and Aliens, so that's interesting. It does have some callbacks to some stuff that you've seen in previous films, and for me, the thing that I really loved about it is it does feel like it fits in that period in terms of just the way that the station, the way that the ship, the way that everything looks in this movie. It's got this very 80s future vibe that I quite enjoyed, and I think it matches that style quite well. In the film, we follow Rain, who is the protagonist, and her brother, Andy, and what they are looking to do is get out of this mining planet, Jackson Star, I think it's called. It's this little mining colony, and it just looks like it's terrible. And honestly, I love that we started there because I found that place really interesting, but we'll get to that in a bit. They want to get off of this planet, and basically Rain is indentured. Her parents died here and she has to fill their quota before she can leave. She's finished that, but then they just up the quota so she can't leave because corporation, evil corporation. And so her friends come up with this plan where they have a ship and they notice that there is something drifting in the atmosphere. They're going to go up there. They're going to get enough freezer juice and pods so they can freeze themselves and they can get the heck out of here without needing their papers to be stamped, so that they can get permission to get off the planet and get on a bigger ship that could actually take them light years away before, they just die on the ship, because light years is a long time to be in space. That's the plan. That's the plan. What can go wrong? I'm sure nothing will go wrong. They're going to be in and out, they say. We're going to be in and out. Needless to say, they're not in and out. And so a horror movie happens. On the ship, they of course find some face huggers. They've basically find more than they had bargained for, and it goes to shit pretty quickly, as is expected for a horror film. So that's basically the plot of the film. That's where we're at. And yeah, let's talk about some of the things that I liked. There was a lot that I liked in this movie. The sound design was something I already knew I was going to love from the trailer. Just listening to it with my headphones on at my desk here, I immediately fell in love with the sound design. And when I was in that theater, the sound is amazing. The music is amazing. It sounds so good. And a big part of horror, I think, and thriller and suspense, any film that has you on the edge of your seat and has you, sweating a little bit, I think is music. So the sound in this, it was just so well done. Not even music, sound. Sound, the absence of sound, all elements of sound, whether it's present or not, are just a way to put you in an atmosphere and a mood. I also really love Andy. So Andy is Rain's brother. He's actually an android that her father found and seemingly salvaged. And when he died, he programmed Andy to look after Rain. So Andy's job is to look after Rain. He's played by David Jonsson, who I think is from the UK, and I think he's only ever been in one other feature, I think. I looked at his IMDb and I was like, how is this possible? He is amazing in it. Oscar levels. I really loved the character. I really loved what David did with the character. He was a standout performance in this, and I really can't wait to see what he does next, because I think he was freaking phenomenal. I also really loved Rain in this as well. She was really good. She actually reminded me of Abby from The Last of Us. I haven't played The Last of Us, but I've watched all of it, and I just thought that she was actually the actress that was going to play Abby, and then I looked it up after and she's not. But she was really good, and I think she would have made a good Abby. But either way, I thought she was really great in this. I really liked her character, and I really liked what the actress did with her. I also feel like we had another actress in this that I liked, who was Isabella Marquette, who was in Madame Web, and she played actually my favorite character in Madame Web, Anya Corazon, who I actually liked her performance, and I actually thought, even though she was working with a terrible script, I thought she did a very admirable job with it. She was in this, and it was nice to see her get a bit of redemption. She was also very good in this as Kay, who is the friend who is secretly pregnant and doesn't want to tell her brother Tyler that she's secretly pregnant. And then, she meets a terrible end and probably has the worst ending, I would say, of anyone in this movie. And that's including Bjorn, who had a pretty bad one and a kind of dumb one. But we'll talk about that in a bit. So speaking of her having a terrible ending, Kay ends up injecting herself with the goo, which also makes its appearance here, the black goo, who you guys may remember from Prometheus, the black goo. She injects herself with that, and while she's like in a really bad way, she's basically on her deathbed at this point, and she's like, I'm gonna do this to save myself. And what that does is that when she is put into cryo, the baby within her gets fused with the goo in her bloodstream, I guess, and it becomes an alien human hybrid baby and is born out of her and is literally nightmare fuel. I saw it and was like, I'm sorry, what's happening now? And of course it happens at the end of the film when you think, well, this could be the part where we'd be safe. Except the one thing I think they didn't do great here is that they kind of set it up so that we knew things were about to go wrong. However, the monster itself is terrifying, and it is horrifying. It reminds me of Voldemort. Voldemort if it were an alien baby come to life. It's so frightening. Why is it so long? Why are its limbs so long? And Kay also has milk that is basically like goo milk, and it's very messed up. And so she goes in it comes to feed, and she that's the end, I think, of Kay. Imagine living through that. Imagine going through all of that and then giving birth to that. Imagine that. I'd rather not, but I have to because of Alien Romulus. So thanks, Alien Romulus. The premise of this film, I think, is really cool as well. The time period that it takes place in, the fact that it starts out on the mining colony, all of those elements. The idea of it's just these all new characters, and it's kind of this standalone story, and you could take it somewhere else if you want, but we could just have it as a little pocket story. I kind of really liked that. I think that was really cool. Kind of hope it stays as a pocket story because I like it just as it is. I like it as a story as well where the ending feels a bit ambiguous as to what will happen to the characters that survived, to our survivor girl, who's really the only one that survived this entire thing. I like that ambiguity, and I hope it stays that way. Not because I don't want to see more of this, just because I think it's more impactful. The overall 80s inspired look I've said I love, and I continue to love. I felt the script here was pretty perfect. I've seen a lot of people talking about how this was an AI script, and I really liked the script. I didn't think it was AI written. I just thought it was good. There's a lot of callbacks. There's some cool problem-solving elements here that happen. They introduce this idea of the anti-grav needing to be purged in the ship because the systems are still kind of going, so every now and then, every few minutes, they purge the anti-grav. They turn the gravity back on, but there's parts of the ship this gravity purge happens, and we use that in an interesting way later in the film. I thought it was really cool that Rain thinks to use that to defeat the aliens because they have this acid blood, so if she shoots them, it'll destroy where they are, but if she shoots them with anti-grav on, then the acid can just float and won't destroy the ship until the anti-grav turns on, but then at least they have some time. So that was a cool idea. How she successfully destroys so many xenomorphs when so many people have struggled to defeat one xenomorph, even in this story, is another thing. But I could suspend some of that disbelief and just accept it myself because I really liked her as a character and thought it was a cool moment. But there's also dad jokes that are introduced at the beginning. Andy has basically been programmed with these dad jokes because her dad programmed Andy, and the dad joke is even what leads to her thinking about the anti-grav, and it's just the way that was all structured I thought was pretty neat, and I thought the way everything lined up together. Not everything that's in this script gets to be as impactful as that moment, but that moment is a good highlight of one of the reasons why I really enjoyed the script. But not everything pays off as well. So that's the thing where I think the script could have used a little bit of work just to be the most impactful, but overall I thought it was a good script. I liked it a lot. There are a lot of callbacks in it, though. There's a lot of callbacks in terms of just the look of this film to previous Alien films. Some of the shots are one for one in here, and I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't notice all of those things because, like I said, I'm not deep into the Alien franchise. The stuff I did notice, the goo, stuff like that are callbacks, I liked. But I think for some people, there was so much here. If you're really into Alien, I could see why it would bother some people. And I think for some people, it kind of worked the other way. It felt too fan servicey. I don't think this was fan service for the sake of fan service, though. I believe that it's coming from a place of really loving the Alien franchise and wanting to pay this homage to, because it's not just a film and a franchise that is cool because of the aliens and the story and stuff like that. Visually, it's also, I think, just a really neat franchise. And so I understand why they wanted to pay all these tributes to it. There are also some shocking moments in here, like when Tyler is swapped out for Kay. Tyler basically is trying to go rescue his sister, and then he ends up getting in trouble, and the xenomorph stabs him, and then Kay ends up being the one to be with our hero girl, our survivor girl, and Andy, but then that's kind of not great because she's very badly wounded, so she's not as helpful as Tyler was, not even in the slightest. But I wasn't expecting that swap to happen later in the film. I really thought Kay was a goner, and then they were like, nope, Tyler's a goner, but Kay lives, at least for a little bit. I felt it was a perfect blend, honestly, of the legacy meeting the new, and I liked that concept of it. I thought it was giving us some fresh vibes, definitely a fresh creature, with the alien-human hybrid, but also giving us some throwbacks. And even, I guess, the alien-human hybrid in a way could be a throwback to some stuff, to the perfect beings or whatever that we saw before. But to me, it still felt like it was trying to do something that was a bit different. So it felt like, we're going to take everything that we have, we're going to pay homage, but we're still going to do some new cool stuff with it while paying tribute. It's a good balance, I thought. I also really like the design of the ship, the station, Romulus and Remus, and how they're split up and how it's about like the Roman brothers. I figured it was going to be basically about that. There's some foreshadowing there in terms of these wolves that are, these babies that fed on the milk of a wolf, and has a bit of a role reversal, but we kind of get something like that later on in the movie. So that was also kind of cool, although I would say some things that I didn't like in this movie are that I don't feel it's as impactful as it could be. I could say something that's like a little bit more substantial. It kind of feels like all the themes are a little bit more generic and a little bit more just like, advancement. Is it bad? Corporations, they're evil. Like, just stuff that isn't the most interesting in terms of really making me think. Granted, it doesn't really need to make me think because it was also very entertaining and I enjoyed what it did give me. So that's not to say that it's bad because it didn't do more. I'm just saying I think there was potential for it to do more and it just ended up not doing that. So I would have loved to see how far we could take it if we really wanted to go down an artistic path with this film. Some of the deaths were predictable. I knew who was going to die before they died. They literally show you, Kay injecting herself. We know what the goo does. We know that's not going to end well. Why would you show me that before then? Why not make it ambiguous? Like, well, she didn't use the goo, so she's probably fine. And then later you find out, oh no, she did use the goo, and that's why all this crazy stuff is happening. Make us think that they're safe before you surprise us with the fact that they're not. I already knew it was going to end badly, and then it did. So that would have been a little bit nicer if it was a surprise, I think. I also feel like Bjorn, we all knew he was going to die because he was awful. And he did, and he died horribly, as he probably should have, but he also died in kind of a dumb way where could he have rolled out of the acid? Maybe. I mean, he did also lose his eye, so maybe he was a bit discombobulated.
First, discombobulate.
Yeah, Navarro. I actually really liked Navarro. I thought she was a really cool pilot, and then we didn't really get established much else about her, but just even her as a pilot seemed cool, and she seemed tough. And then she got the X-ray, and then she gets face huggered, so we knew she was gonna die. And I just felt like they let that happen too fast. They let it play out too predictably. I would have liked a bit more time. They spend the first part of the movie establishing stuff, and I understand that, you know, they're trying to keep it tight, but it feels like some characters get more than others, and I don't know if that's because of the actors or if that's just the script. I think it's more the script, because I think, honestly, everyone that was in this was pretty good, to be real with you, and did a good job with what they were given, but some characters sort of end up being a little bit more generic, and I think she falls into that trap. And the connection that we see between her and Kay when she dies was actually interesting to me, and I wish we had established more of like what their bond was or how close they were. It doesn't have to be something big. It could have just been a line here or a look or an item or something. It could have been anything, but there wasn't enough of a connection there. So also I feel like sometimes characters die and you're just kind of like, okay, well, on to the next thing. I looked back at sort of where we came with this movie, and I did feel like upon retrospect, there are some sequences in here that just felt like we were running through an obstacle course, like the whole part where they're just trying to sneak past the face huggers. And I thought of like all of the elements of it, and it's like this sequence leads into this sequence, leads into this sequence. And so I can kind of see when some people were talking about it feeling like it was written by AI, maybe that element of it, because it felt like there were just cool sequences that then they just kind of connected together. However, I enjoyed all of those sequences, so I'm not really sure how to rectify that. I don't think it really bothers me ultimately, but when I did think about it, I was like, there's like cool moments that are stitched together. There's cool moments that are stitched together, but what do we call that? A story? I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just something that I stuck out to me, I guess, in my mind. So I guess that's why I'm mentioning it now. It also wasn't as body horror-esque as I was expecting. There were people that warned me. They were like, oh, I hope you like body horror going to see it. Someone in my chat, I forget who it was, but shout outs to you if you're watching this video. Hello. Also, in case you don't know, I do stream. So if you ever want to stop by and chat with me live, you can at twitch.tv/vampex13, or here on YouTube. You don't even have to leave the platform. You can just click the live tab. I stream on both. Haha. So someone was mentioning how it was very body horror-esque, and yeah, they did have some body horror, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. I was expecting it to go really hard and be really creepy, and I felt like it was actually a little bit safer, a little softer than what I thought it was going to be, because I think they could have gone further with it. That being said, you know, when it comes to body horror, when it comes to gore and things, I mean, you know, I watched Saw, guys. I couldn't look at all of that because it was so bad. Because then I imagined it happening to myself, you know, and that's messed up. And this stuff, I mean, I think I still imagine some of it happening to myself, but it didn't feel as messed up, even though it's all pretty messed up. Something about the way that was shown, I think. There's also this whole part where they're going through the hallway where it's revealed, like, you know, there's so many aliens that were in here, taking over this whole corridor, and they're showing all the bodies that are on the ceiling, and the camera's literally doing like one of these over them, and I really didn't like that sequence. I really didn't like the way that was shot, not because it made me uncomfortable, just because it looked cheap. So although there are parts of this that look super polished, there are other parts that just like, all right, that was one of them. Not a lot of the film is like that, but that part I was like, okay, what are we doing here? Let's respond to some criticisms. I've heard people saying they didn't really like Andy, and I feel like he's the most likable character, so that's interesting. I don't know what that's about. If you didn't like Andy, let me know why in the comments. I feel like he's at times more human than our human characters. The writing feeling AI, I actually was curious, so I went to ChatGPT and I had it write me a script for an Alien movie that combined all the franchises. And it did not write me this script. It wrote me something else, which actually was pretty good, I gotta say. But it brought Ripley back, and this is something this film did not do. And honestly, thank goodness it did not do that. It did not do that, and I appreciate that about the film. I don't think we need Ripley here to make it an Alien movie. Ripley's great, but, like, you know, let her rest. Also, you know, this is in between stuff, so she's already got more to do. You have to, I guess, de-age her. I don't know. I don't know how we would do that if she appeared here. But it was different. It was a different film. So I don't know. I guess the other thing is people are like, oh, it sounds like an AI wrote this. And I'm not saying that AI should write things, but it came up with a pretty good idea, I will say. I don't know, but this felt to me like it was written by humans. It's scary. How do we tell? How do we tell who's an android and who's a human in 2024? Who's the real synth? Bjorn's death being dumb. I think it was meant to be, and it was still painful for me to watch, but I do understand why people say this, and I do see the point there. I also feel like he died too fast. I feel like he got off a little too easy. He was like dead, like the acid went through, he's like, oh, I'm dead. I was like, he should be made to suffer. He sucks. Rain being too instantly capable is a critique some people have had. I partly agree with this, but like I said, with the anti-grav usage, I just had to let it go because I was like, that's too cool. I gotta let it go. How does she know how to do all this? How is she so capable off the bat? She has no training. I don't know, but she's smart, so I'm gonna let her have it. People also have said that it's too fan servicey. It feels like a fan film. It's too much like Alien, and like I said, I feel like me not being as deep into the Alien lore, the Alien franchise. You know, I've seen some, but I haven't seen all, and I haven't watched them. I didn't watch them all before I watched this film. Maybe there were just things, you know, that I missed here. There were definitely things that I missed here, and so I didn't notice that every single thing is a reference. If you are one of those people, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments. Did you notice that everything was a reference? Was everything a reference? And did it bother you? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Why not? I'd love to hear about it. I also like Rain as a protagonist and hero. I thought that she was good. I thought that she was noble. I thought that she was interesting. She just wants to get her and her brother off this world, and then she has this whole conflict with, like, she wants to take Andy off, but she knows she'll have to deactivate him. She wants to get free. She wants him to be free, but she knows that maybe they can't be free together, that it's dangerous, they'll be hunted down, and just that conflict of, like, wanting to be free but having to give up the last thing that is your family. And also when everybody else sees that person as a thing, but you see them as your brother. I mean, their whole relationship, I think, was so fascinating. And rest in peace, Andy, the android. I hope Andy can come back. If we do get a sequel to this, I hope Andy is able to come back with Rain. Hope he somehow survives. Maybe he could just be like a head or something. I don't know. We can do something with it. The deep fakes make anything possible, but also the deep fakes were not the best part of this film. I will say that. All right, friends. Well, that was my thoughts on the movie and the reviews. And yeah, overall, I really liked this movie. I gave it a 4 out of 5 in my reaction, and I'm going to stick with that. It really, really was good. I think about it. I would rewatch it. I would definitely come back to this one. And, you know, it made me want to go back and watch the other Alien films, so I might do that. I might have to have a little Alien marathon and make sure I watch everything. Then I'll understand all the references, and then maybe I'll be annoyed and be like, it's too much. It's too fan servicey. And in watching the Alien franchise, I will ruin this new installment in the franchise. What a beautiful full circle that would be. All right, friends, thank you so much for watching this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you next time. And until then, stay nerdy. Bye.